trust your heart, don't be deceived. Protect our circle, keep it clear. Online shadows lurking near.
Strangers are not just at the park anymore. They're in your child's pocket. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we can keep predators out of your home and out of your child's life. Good day and welcome back to Family Cyber Tips Daily. Today, as I've hinted, we're talking about something every parent needs to hear, okay? Digital stranger dangers. Online predators don't wear masks. They wear fake profiles. And if we're not proactive, our kids fall into their traps. So we're going to look at the new face. That's what I'm calling it. The new face of stranger dangers. In the past, we taught kids not to talk to strangers at the park, on the bus, and anywhere in the public. Today, predators target kids on gaming platforms, social media, and even homework apps. They pose as friends. They use emojis and slowly build trust. These are not isolated incidents. They're becoming frighteningly common, and we've got to put a stop to it, okay? You're not going out with a whip. I'm arming you with information, okay? I'm arming you with information, and it's important to listen. If you have now made this, a daily routine, weekday anyway, then I'm guessing that you're with your pen and paper if you don't want to go back and do the rewind thing. Okay, but please take note. If your friend or family member is free, ping them and get them to sit down and listen. Okay, so we're going to go to the bit where I tell you, or at least educate you, on how these predators operate. And predators, in simple language, will be the people who are planning harm, for your kids. And they're going to do it again and again until they really cause havoc. And we don't want that, okay? So I'm going to show you now how they operate, how predators operate. And I want you to pay attention. Predators generally use tactics like flattery. We mentioned a few of these things yesterday when we covered, the episode. But they use tactics like flattery, fake interests, and if you're not doing enough praising of your children at home, they will gravitate towards any flattery or praise from strangers. And the strangers, these predators, they know, okay? They use fake interest, shared hobbies, you play the keyboard, man. I'm hooked also. They get you to feed off that. And that's how you get hooked. They even give gifts, like we mentioned yesterday, to manipulate, the kids. And platforms like TikTok, Discord, Instagram, Roblox, yes, Roblox, and Snapchat. They're hunting grounds for these horrible people called predators, okay? Most grooming starts with innocent chats, and they quickly turn into, stalking. Just turns dark very quickly. The moment they know that your kids are hooked, there's a huge turn for the worse. And it's important that you are, prepped with this information, okay? Because needless to say, that's where we ought to be going to. How can you, as a parent, as a caregiver, what can you do? And like I also mentioned, maybe last episode or the episode before, that the fact that we're even here is frustrating for me because we shouldn't be put in this position. You know, our kids have now gravitated towards online, the internet, social media, and that's where they are parking their bus. You will expect that the vendors will do their due diligence and make sure that whilst kids play, they play safely. With all the things that the vendors are doing, it still doesn't appear to be enough because kids are still getting stung. Okay? So in some way, what can you as a parent, you know, since we're here and we take what we have, but how do we guard and shade our kids whilst they're on these platforms? Okay? I'm going to go through a few things and I hope that it will help somewhat. That's my prayer. Okay? And anytime you hear something you've heard before, honestly, it is deliberate, okay? Because I want to home it in. Please, don't say, oh, he said that yesterday. Yes, I did. And I may have said it again the day before, okay? But it's important that you talk regularly with your kids about their online interactions, okay? Kids get easily distracted, easily bored, especially with the parents that we are, you know? We've got to work very hard to make our stories and our discussions interesting. So you've got to use things that will engage them. Use stories. Don't lecture them. You lecture them, they will get the first sentence and the rest goes through the other ear. You don't want that. You want them to be hooked on what you're saying. So mix it up, all right? Another thing we mentioned yesterday, which we're repeating today, is keep screens visible in family spaces. For very young kids, kids under 10, if you're buying a computer for the family, it must be in a central space where they all gravitate towards to, which is usually the lounge or, as we call it, sitting room. Make sure that the screens attached to these computers or the laptop itself is turned or left in such a way that everyone can see what everyone is doing on the computer. That includes you, the parent. Okay? No buts. You, the parent, will sit on the same computer, allowing all your stuff to be visible. Okay? If the kid or kids, yourself included, can't make it visible, then you ought not to be watching it in that central location. It's so important that you are leading from the front. Okay, so keep the screens, turn it in such a way whilst you're designing the computer space, keep it in such a way that anyone who walks in will see that screen. You're very welcome. That's a tip. Okay, with all your IKEA gear and all that, it may throw it off a bit, but make sure your screen is visible. Anyone who comes into the room will see it. That will put them off to some extent from doing anything naughty. Okay, so it all adds up. Turn off locations sharing on apps that they don't need. We have a video, and if you scroll or search on the portal, the YouTube channel, you will find a video where we've spoken about location sharing and how you do it. We even showed you how to do it. Okay? Turn it off for apps that they don't need. And that's pretty much every other app. And whilst you're at it, set boundaries, please. Set boundaries. And the boundaries will relate to who can message them, who can follow them. Make sure you're digging in and finding out. I keep wondering why this is such a big deal. You know, in those days when we used to, when we buy new books, like exercise books or test books, we'll make sure that we sellotape it in such a way, or not, maybe sellotape it, some of us use sellotape, but ultimately to keep it new and crisp, we put some sort of cover over it so that it will last longer. You know, I'm going that petty because we were involved then, involved in making sure that their books stood the test of time with all the elements. You know, the same due diligence. I know that it's not like for like or apples for apples, but ultimately the due diligence that you exhibit or exhibited then, you do the same in the digital space. Make sure that you're setting boundaries, you're checking their profile settings, you know? Make sure that they're not allowing everybody see what they're doing. And you're not allowing everybody ping them or message them. Help them, okay? They're young anyway. This is a controversial, suppose the point I'm going to make now might seem controversial, but honestly, in the space we're in now, in the world we're in now, it really shouldn't be. Know their friends. You know the offline friends anyway. Why wouldn't you want to know the online friends? Or why would a child under age, prevent you from doing that? That can't be a good thing. It's not a good look either. So know their friends, engage their online friends, engage their offline friends, and let their friends know that you know. And please use parental controls. In addition to all these hands-on, being really in their business, use parental control tools like Custodio, Bark, or Family Link. There are others, obviously, but these are ones that we recommend from here. So make sure that you are engaged, fully engaged, please, okay? We go to the last segment that we are going to cover. Again, for those who are writing, this should really be a good time to, pay attention. What are the warning signs that you as a parent or caregiver should watch out for? We're talking about predators, which means that they're prey. Our kids are generally prey. The fair game in a jungle. The internet is a jungle. So as far as the predator, that's why it almost seems like they don't have a heart. As far as they're concerned, they don't see what we see. They just see game. They see something that they can walk on. And usually it's the kids and the older folks who are not as tech savvy who get bitten. And so we've got to look out for the warning signs, what I called in yesterday's episode, red flags. What warning signs should we as parents and caregivers watch out for? Generally, you ought to be alert if your child becomes secretive all of a sudden about their devices. The moment you go to get their devices, there's panic. They rush to get it out of your hands. Mom, privacy. Dad, privacy. Hello. In my day, and I think we should still roll it out, privacy is earned. If a child is demanding privacy and they're like under 10, something, that's not a good look. Of course, kids can earn it. If they earn it, fair play. But you must see it as a red flag if anytime you come so close to their devices, they're rushing to protect it or they become secretive. That can't be a good thing. Or if you note that your child is suddenly so withdrawn and emotional, and they love being in their rooms longer than normal, it's a red flag. Don't ignore it. Like I also mentioned yesterday, don't ignore it. If you like, this is a follow-up on the episode from yesterday because obviously you can only cover so much in one episode. So this is like dribs from that. Now talking about predators, okay? Internet rogues. They're not up to any good at all. If you also, another red flag would be if all of a sudden you knew the password to some of the devices your young one had and used in the house, and all of a sudden those passwords have changed. You try to get onto the tablet and there's, it's changed. It's something that didn't happen. And of course, if you're very open in the whole house, the family are open to each other, where anyone can pick up a device and there's nothing, and all of a sudden that changes, there's something wrong. Passwords are changed, or You come into the room and the kid is hiding the screen very quickly. Not good. Not good. There could well be signs of online grooming or cyberbullying. You know, and these are very crucial things. They're very important things that you absolutely can't ignore because you're busy working. Because some parents generally give that excuse. You know, and that's a tragedy. Because your child is suffering under your roof. That's a scandal, you know. So I'm praying that this or these are not your portion. You know, that you are hands-on enough to know when these things are happening. Hence the reason why I'm flagging them, you know, as red flags, as things that you can't ignore. Okay? Yeah, we've got to do it. And as painful as it sounds, we've got to do it. And that's why I said, if you have an enemy, you're prepping to make sure the enemy is not biting. This is what you're doing. And I hope that you don't think that the video is about panic and that I'm out to make you, you know, afraid. That's not my intention. And I pray that you're not seeing it as that. All I'm doing is helping you prevent the things that I am mentioning. It's all about prevention. Your child's digital world must be just as protected as their physical one. Okay? You are their first line of defense. You know, it's not just providing internet. Oh, I provide internet, so I am a good dad. I'm a good mom. No, it's a lot more than that. And I'm helping you along. I'm arming you with stuff that should help you. Okay? I don't want you to be part of the statistics. I really don't. And I know that many parents are in this space and kind of wishing that they were more hands-on than they ought to be. Okay? So I'm hoping that you understand what's going on. You understand the risks. You understand the benefits of getting involved, okay? These are things that, seriously, the amount of information I've heard about how this has gone down or gone south very quickly for parents who ignore these things I'm sharing with you. Please don't wait, okay? Start the conversation today. Engage parents who are on the same journey, and I know that many of them are, you know, and engage us in the comments. If you've had an experience and you feel that, you know, I know, and you see it on the telly, you know, a misfortune has happened to a parent or a family, and rather than stay angry and stay cross forever, they look to, you know, get some good from it by being very generous with their time, giving advice, starting charities, you know, those things, they help them heal, you know? And that's why conversations are like you're letting off steam. Because we don't want what has happened to you, God forbid, to happen to another parent, we engage. We do that certainly on this platform by using the comments, share experiences, let us know how you got on. It doesn't have to be a long story, but that's also welcome. But ultimately, lesson points or learning points so that others don't get into these situations, okay? I checked yesterday, I told you that we were 5 today. I've checked again, we're 4 to the 1K. Please subscribe to the channel so that you can get more information, more guidance, okay? And make sure you click the notification bell so that when we, like today, we were slightly late and you won't have known if you hadn't clicked the notification bell that it's been tweaked a bit for some technical issues we're having here. Okay, but together we ought to keep our kids safe. They're counting on us. We can do this together. Being your host until tomorrow at 6 p.m. stay safe and stay together. God bless and goodbye.